My name is Anton Ericsson, and I'm a bass player and singer and songwriter in a band called Quantum from Sweden, Stockholm. And yeah, we've been playing for a couple of years. We released an EP a couple of years ago, and now we're releasing this Friday. We're releasing Down the Mountainside, which is our first full length. And it's an album with lots of things happening. There's a heavy riff, there's great grooves, there's lovely chords, and there's beautiful melodies, and we have some strings, we have some winds, and of course we have a really tightly knit together band that plays. Yeah,
beautiful, mate. Thanks
our
for
best
today, Anton. That was perfect, mate.
Yeah. Great.
So, as you said, Quantum are set to drop your debut album Down the Mountainside this Friday, April 19th. So, how are you feeling? Are you nervous? You excited? You a combination of all of them? Like,
probably a combination of all of them, I would say. I mean, a bit nervous, but I mean, people who have heard it think have given us very positive response. So I'm mostly excited actually to let people hear it.
yeah. You sort of touched on this a little bit in the intro, mate, but can you go into a bit more detail for us? Like, explain the album from a musical point of view and what you were going for with it.
Well, I mean, what we were going for, I think we wrote. I mean, I write most of the songs, but when I started writing the songs, they've been around for a long time. A lot of these songs, and you had some of the riffs done and some of the songs done, and you realize that a lot of these songs kind of fit together nicely, and then you start writing some of the other songs to fit in with those. And I think one of the general sounds of this is like rock with a lot of electric elements of metal, and a lot of electric elements of prog, and a lot of electric elements of some jazz and some classical music as well. And I mean, that's kind of what the sound is. But I'm not sure if we had if we were conscious about a sound from beginning. It was more something that sort of turned up organically, I would say.
Yeah. Now, the press release says to brace yourself for a rare musical sonic journey, which sounds pretty cool, man. Like, does that mean in terms of atmospherics or different styles of music? Like, what do you think they're referring to?
Well, a lot of things. I think sonically, we have. It is very diverse because we have very like kind of almost jazzy lows, and we have very like in your face heavy highs in terms of dynamics, and we're also incorporating a lot of different kind of sounds. With some parts we have like some strings coming in, some parts with some winds, and sometimes we have really like a harsh vocal approach, and we're not really growling, but we're singing in kind of aggressive way, and sometimes we have like really sweet vocal harmonies. So it really is a journey, and I'm very conscious of having the music flow in a nice way. Yeah. So it's
yeah, cool. Now, you've released the singles Abstract Bliss and On the Verge. So if that's all someone's heard of your music, would you say that they're a good sonic representation of the album overall?
I mean, those two together, pretty much, yeah. I mean, I would say that they are kind of, I think On the Verge is a better sonic representation. But in a way, they kind of are sort of the middle ground of, because the we go pretty far in this direction, then we go forward in this direction, and On the Verge from Abstract Bliss we kind of stay here, like in the median part of the sound.
Yeah,
I would say.
So how would you say that Down the Mountainside differs musically to your EP, The Next Breath of Air?
I think the main thing is we go further in each the different musical directions that we have. That if I would say, The Next Breath of Air is very much it has a very kind of classical rock or classical prog rock kind of feel to it, I would say. And we explore some symphonic, and we explore some jazzy stuff. But here we go even heavier when we go heavy. We go even jazzier when we go jazzy, and we go even even more you know, like epic and symphonic when we go, and not really symphonic, but even more epic when we go epic. So it we sort of, because there's more time probably on the album, there's more time to sort of spread your wings a bit.
Yeah, cool. Down the Mountainside, it expresses some pretty deep and intense themes throughout the album, mate. So can you run us through a few of those themes?
Yeah, I mean lyrical themes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean basically, I think a lot about, you know, how people in their lives tend to kind of wear masks or kind of use alter egos to deal with, whether it's the professional, whether it's like a relationship to a friend, to their partner, and how this can be very taxing, and how usually these things tend to be what leads to them into really dark territory. For example, a lot of people who are domestic abusers, they usually have this thing that they're basically hiding their feelings, and they bottle up on them, and then they explode. And you know, other people might have struggled deal with things that maybe they identify with how they are when they're intoxicated, so they drink a lot, and how this basic like notion of trying to be someone else to deal with your life is the root of a lot of problems that people face in their life. So I think that's very interesting. So there's a lot of that on the album.
Yeah. And it also features guitar solos from Richard Henshaw and Tom McLean, both from the band Haken, mate. So firstly, why choose those guys to be on the album, and what do they bring to the overall sound?
Right. So I mean, Tom McLean, he actually worked on the last EP. He was mastering it. He did a master for it. So we kind of stayed in touch, and then we thought it'd be cool to have him on the album to play a solo. And because we had the feeling, because I'd heard some of his playing in some of his videos, I thought he could probably do a great job on the song Moths and Leaves, so we let him do it, and he absolutely killed it. And then we thought, well, why not ask Richard Henshaw to do a solo, because he, you know, so you see him do all these guest solos, so why don't he do one for us? and we and he can do some pretty crazy stuff, and you know, at the end of the Highman the Cockroach song, you know, which is a song that kind of really goes ballistic in some ways. It's like who can make this even crazier? And it's like, well, maybe Richard Henshaw could add some sauce to that. So
Nice.
and he really did. He really did. So
I love it when the plan works out. It's good, isn't it?
yeah.
Now, you sort of touched on this briefly before, mate, but your music blends progressive rock with metal, with late romantic era classical music, and there's a bit of jazz in there. So, like, it's a very eclectic mix and not the sort of thing you'd normally hear together. Like, where did it come from?
Well, I mean, it's not. I would say it's not really a conscious thing. It's more something that kind of happens because I'm trained classically. I'm a classical musician. I play professionally in orchestras and in chamber ensembles and stuff. And I also played quite a bit of jazz, and I've been listening to quite a bit of jazz, and I've also listened to some heavy music, some metal, and some rock and some prog. And I think when I write music, I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just kind of writing, and then what intuitive comes out, and then after a while, oh wait a minute, I'm kind of doing this. This is kind of similar to that thing. I mean, this is kind of similar to that. And then you say, okay, this is kind of a mix. And when you reflect on what you've written, you realize that it's kind of a mixture of all the things that you've been listening, and all the things you've been playing, and all the things you've heard, really. So it's more so that I've digested all of this type of music, and what comes out will end up being a mix of it.
Yeah, sure. How about when it comes to recording the finished product of these songs? Like, how do you know when you've got the balance right between all of those? You know, like haven't got too much of one style in there and not enough of the other. Like, is there a process for that?
Well, I mean, basically the recording process, we start with just the band, and then we see if so basically we record with bass and drums live in the room. So we start with that. So we have the groove down, then add the guitars and vocals, and then we can kind of go from there. Okay, how can we expand this sonically? What can we do? Should we add some synthesizers? Maybe this could be some strings in this bit? Maybe we could have a bit of a wind section playing something, you know. So we kind of go production wise that way. But sometimes I also know already from the get go that actually we should have some wind section here. For example, on Moths and Leaves, I knew right from the get we should have winds on this one.
Right.
So sometimes you just kind of, you know, from the beginning that you have a sound in the mind, but sometimes when we're producing it, kind of realize that we could enrich this somehow.
Yeah,
and when it comes to fine tune, I think we always try to tend to have that the sound of the band is at the center, at the forefront, but and then give space to other things, sort of.
Very nice. All right, Anton. Well, thanks for your time, mate. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. The album Down the Mountainside is out this Friday, April 19th, and what I've heard of it's a bloody good album, mate. So congratulations and best of luck.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.